Welcome to the lesson on Algebra 1 on vertex and standard form of quadratic equation. So we'll be interpreting the vertex form and the standard form, so we kind of have to know what that is first, right? All right, guys. The vertex form that we've been doing right here, that was y is equal to, or you could write that as f of x, right? As a x minus h squared plus k, and then hk was the vertex, right? And the standard form is y is equal to ax squared plus bx plus c. As you could sort of imagine, if you expand out this expression and recombine the expressions and terms, you'll get that expression. And that's exactly what we're going to do today. Okay. So essential question today is, how can you change vertex form of the quadratic function to the standard form, right? Could you copy down the underlying parts, please? If a function is quadratic, it can be represented by an equation of the form y is equal to ax squared plus bx plus c, where a comma b comma and c are real numbers, but a cannot be 0. So why can't a be 0? As we mentioned a couple of times in the class before, if a was 0, this term will disappear. If it disappears, the square term disappears. Then it's no longer quadratic. It becomes linear, right? That's why. Okay. All right, guys. And then what we're going to learn is that the axis of symmetry is given by the equation of x equal to negative b over 2h. What that means is that this right here is essentially equal to h of the vertex, hk, in the vertex form, right? So, and then the vertex is given by plugging this back into the equation right here, right? And that's what that means right here, right? So this represents h, and that is the k. So even if you don't have it in the vertex form, you can figure out a vertex, which is to use this particular equation and find the h value right here, where axis of symmetry, which is negative b over 2a. And then using that value, we plug into the quadratic equation to find the value k. And that's what we're going to do right now, okay? All right, guys, in this particular case, we're asking to determine if each equation is quadratic to begin with. If so, state the axis of symmetry and coordinate of the vertex, right? Here we go. In this particular case, what I notice is that there is no x squared. It's 0, x squared minus 2x plus 20. So the a is equal to 0, b is negative 2, and c is 20. And we know that if a is equal to 0, it's not quadratic, right? So we say since a is equal to 0, the function is not quadratic. Okay? Let's look at the second equation. Y is equal to negative 3x squared. That's minus 4. Have you noticed that there's no b? That means that is a 0x. So that means that a is negative 3, b is 0, and c is negative 4. The equation for the axis of symmetry, right here, guys, is given by this equation right here, right? So x is equal to negative b, and b is a 0 in our case, twice the negative 3. Well, 0 in the numerator means the whole thing is 0, so we're done. And then for vertex, we plug it into the equation f of x, or y, So in this case, y is equal to, I'm just going to copy this over, guys, minus this, okay? Negative 3x squared minus 4. Have you noticed that I didn't put anything in the... Exactly. I want to plug in whatever I got over here, right? So over there, I'm going to do is whatever I got, I'm going to put it right there. And that is a 0. Which means that 0 squared is 0 times 3, sorry, negative 3 is 0, so this is minus 4. Therefore, we say HK, that's the vertex, is the 0 minus 4. Sounds good, guys? Okay. Now, what I want you to do is, it's your turn, okay? And pause the video and try this on your own. It should take about 2 or 3 minutes. When you're done, play the video. All right, guys. I think we're good. Here we go. Number 7, as it turns out, because when you solve for y over here, had no x squared term, which means that a is equal to 0, right? Right. So this is not a quadratic function because a is equal to 0. In the second one, we solve for y, and this is the equation I get, and a turns out to be -1, b is a 4, and c is equal to 0. And it is a quadratic function because we have a is not equal to 0, but we also have to find the axis of symmetry and coordinate of the vertex, right? So the axis of symmetry, the equation for that is right here, right? So I plug in the b and the a, which I did. I don't know if you noticed, guys, I put the negative sign right in front of the fraction bar to avoid some confusion. So please do it that way. And the negative and negative makes it positive, which means that 4 over 2 is 2. So I should probably state that that is the axis of symmetry, right? It's actually, you know what? I've actually wrote it down here, so it's just all good, okay? And then to find the k value of the vertex, and we all realize that this is actually the h value, right? So this is the k value of the vertex, right? We plug in the axis symmetry into the function, right? Into this one right here, guys, okay? And so x is 2. When you plug it in and simplify it, came out to 4. So the vertex is 2, 4. And the axis of symmetry is x equal to 2. All right, guys, we'll move on. So how to change from, how do you rewrite from here to here? And the key to doing that is expand, and this thing is called what again? Expand the perfect square trinomial. In case you forgot, when you have x minus h squared, because this is perfect square trinomial, you square the first term right here, which gives you x squared. And you square the last term, that's the L portion, right? Which is the h squared. And we multiply these two terms, which is negative hx, and we double them. Negative 2 times h of x, hx. So that's the form that you should know, okay? So when we do that, let me change back to my regular colors. I'm just going to worry about this middle part, which gives me what? X squared, right? Oopsie, just give me 1 more second. Sorry about that. All right. There you go. When I multiply these two, I get negative 6x, right? I'm going to double that, negative 12x. And then we're going to square the last one, which is 36. Well, that's the one that you should take care of first. And then there's a 4 in the front, plus 3 in the second. And then when you distribute the 4, it's 4x squared minus 48x. Oh gosh, that's 24, 12, 144. Okay, all right. And then you could just erase that. Therefore, I could say y is 4x squared minus 48x plus 147. Okay. All right, as you could tell, I actually did it ahead of time, right here. But let me explain to you what I did, right? All you have to focus on is this part right there, right? That is equal to this, y, okay? You square the first, which is x squared. We square the second, which is 4, right? And then we multiply these two together, and we double, which gives you 4x. And then once you filled out the middle, I multiply that by -3, subtracting afterwards. And by distributing it, now you gotta be careful, guys. I multiply by negative, which means I have to negate everything inside. Notice that this is positive, positive, positive. When you negate them, it becomes the opposite. So it's negative, negative, negative. Okay? And then we just have to combine the last two terms, which is -13. And there you go. Okay? All right, guys. Why don't you guys go ahead and try your turn. And when you're done, start the recording again. All right, guys. Here are the answers. And as you could see, the only thing that you really should focus on are these two parts right here. Right? That's the first thing you should look at. Square the first, x squared. Square the second, 25. I multiply these two, 5x, we double it, 10x. And once you do that, we double everything, boom. See that? And then I combine these two to get 53. Same thing over here, right? Square the first, x squared. Square the second, 49. Multiply these two, -7x. When you double it, it becomes -14x. So you always take care of the expansion first. And then I distribute the -3 throughout, and this is what I get. Look at this, guys. Positive, negative, positive, right? When you negate them, it becomes the opposite. Negative, positive, negative. Combining these two, you get -145. All right? Okay, here we go. So let's look at this, example 4. Please read the question first. So house painter is standing on a ladder, drops a paintbrush, and it falls to the ground, right? And how it falls to the ground, over time that is, he didn't throw like this. It just fell flat, but when you go across, it tells you how long it took, right? So at the 1 second mark, it's at 9 feet. And it looks like it took about 1.25 seconds-ish, right? For it to hit the ground, judging from the graph, right? But the question is asking you, so we're going to find, in this particular case, find an equation, right? How do I find the equation, guys? Well, I don't like this right here, so let's put f of t. So we're replacing t with x. This book is being a little silly because it has x over here, and yet the book goes with t. That's a little silly. You know what? I'm going to switch to x, if that's okay with you. F of x is equal to a times x minus h squared plus k, just like before, right? All right. Well, if I want to do that, I need to find some information, right? As it turns out, that right there is a vertex. So my vertex, hk, is 0, 25, right? Oopsie. And then what else do I have? And this point belongs in the equation, 1, 9. So the first thing I do is I plug in h and the k into these equations. Let's do that. f of x, therefore, is equal to a x minus 0 squared plus 25. And then we're still not done because ultimately we want to find what a is, right? So what we do is we place x and y over here, plug that in. And y obviously is equal to f of x, right? By plugging it in, that you get 9 is equal to a times x squared. And x in this case is what? 1, right? Plus 25. You see that? Subtracting 25 from both sides, it's negative 16. Obviously, 1 squared times a gives you just a. So I think we have all the necessary information. Therefore, that's f of x is equal to negative 16 x minus 0 squared plus 25. Now, for those of you who with the sharp eyes, notice that 0 doesn't need to be there because it's a 0. So the optional thing for you to do is or f of x is equal to negative 16x squared plus 25. I'm okay with either version. Okay? All right. Let's try one more, shall we? And in this time, you might want to maybe pause a little bit. And I'm going to do this without saying too much. I'm just going to do it quietly and see if you can follow along. Okay? Okay. So as you could tell, this is HK. So I plugged it into the form, giving me this. And in the future, if this is 0, you don't have to put anything there at all. And as you could tell, it has to go through 124, and that's what allows us to find the value of a, right? So that's x and the y. So that means 24 is equal to a 1 squared plus 40, right? When you go through the calculation, it turns out, oh my gosh, a is negative 16. Therefore, f of x is negative 16x squared plus 40. Now, if you wanted to, you can write this as x minus 0 squared plus 40. I'm okay with either one. Okay. All right, guys. That sort of concludes the lesson itself. But do me a huge favor. This is your turn. Okay. When you're done, why don't you start working on the... Okay, pause the video for a couple of minutes. Okay, guys, we have returned, and here are the answers. The first one, yeah, I'm not going to walk you through this. It's very similar, so that's the answer. That's the vertex, right? And this is it goes through that, so you have to substitute that point into the equation to find a. Right? Same thing here, guys. That's the vertex, right? Which allows us to get this. We substitute in that value right here to find the a. All right, guys, that concludes the lesson. All right, I'll see you in class. Bye-bye.